Hello Golden State Warriors fans, we are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
Warriors miss out on key veteran target as long-rumored center heads to Western rival. Options are thinning fast in Golden State. The Golden State Warriors have made it clear that adding a veteran center was a top priority this offseason. But now, yet another potential solution is off the table, and this one stings more than most. On Tuesday, ESPN's Shams Charania reported that the Washington Wizards traded Kelly Olynyk to the San Antonio Spurs in exchange for Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, and a 2026 second-round pick. For the Spurs, it's a savvy move that strengthens their front-court depth alongside Victor Wembanyama by adding Olynyk and free agent Luke Kornet, a longtime Warriors target, gone to the competition. Kelly Olynyk has been on the Warriors' radar for quite some time. Dating back to last season's trade deadline, Golden State had explored scenarios to acquire the 34-year-old big man when he was still with the Utah Jazz. He's since been on a bit of a tour, traded from Utah to the Raptors, then to the Pelicans, and most recently to Washington as part of the C.J. McCollum, Jordan Poole swap. Even as recently as a few weeks ago, Olynyk was floated as a serious trade option for Golden State, especially as the team looked to bolster its depth behind Kevin Looney, now gone, and Draymond Green. Olynyk may not be a traditional starting center, but his versatility, floor spacing, and high basketball IQ made him a compelling fit in Steve Kerr's system. In his final 20 games with New Orleans last season, Olynyk averaged 10.7 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 3.6 assists per game, shooting a stellar 50% from the field and nearly 39% from deep, numbers that speak volumes about his value as a stretch big who can also facilitate from the top of the key. The Spurs now have a sneaky strong rotation at center, and Olynyk's ability to stretch the floor next to Wembanyama and Kornet gives San Antonio all kinds of flexibility in their lineups. What's left for the Warriors? With Olynyk now off the board, the Warriors' focus seems to be narrowing in on one name: Al Horford. There's growing buzz that the 39-year-old veteran could make his way to the Bay Area, if he decides not to retire. According to Monty Poole of NBC Sports Bay Area, Horford is still weighing retirement after completing his 18th NBA season. The Warriors are reportedly waiting for clarity, and may tie his signing to how things play out with Jonathan Kuminga, who remains a restricted free agent. Meanwhile, another experienced option, Brook Lopez, has agreed to a 2-year, $18 million deal with the LA Clippers, officially taking another potential Warriors target off the board. As for Nikola Vucevic, sources say Golden State has cooled on pursuing the two-time All-Star, despite previous trade rumors linking him to the team. Clock is ticking. With so many of the top-tier and mid-level veteran bigs now committed elsewhere, the Warriors are running out of time, and out of names. The pressure is mounting for the front office to find a reliable big who can complement Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and potentially Kuminga if he remains with the team. If Horford decides to hang it up, the Warriors could find themselves scrambling to patch together front-court depth through lesser-known names or late off-season trades. In an off-season already marked by quiet moves and big exits, missing out on Kelly Olynyk may end up being one of the more frustrating chapters for a team still trying to stay relevant in a rapidly evolving Western Conference. A window that's rapidly closing. For the Warriors, this offseason is beginning to feel like a missed opportunity in slow motion. With Kelly Olynyk, Brook Lopez, and other veteran bigs now off the board, Golden State's margin for error is shrinking fast. There was always an understanding that the Warriors were operating with limited flexibility, financially and roster-wise, but the increasing urgency to secure front-court help is now impossible to ignore. Especially with Kevin Looney gone, Tracy Jackson-Davis still developing, and Draymond Green nearing his mid-30s, the lack of size and rim protection is a glaring hole on a team still trying to compete in a stacked Western Conference. And now, the list of available veteran centers who fit the system is almost dry. Golden State's internal gamble. Much of the Warriors' offseason is also hinging on internal clarity, namely, what happens with Jonathan Kuminga. The talented 22-year-old restricted free agent remains unsigned, and though there's strong mutual interest in continuing the relationship, suitors like the Sacramento Kings continue to monitor his status. The Warriors are playing a delicate game, hoping to retain Kuminga on a team-friendly deal while still leaving space for veteran additions like Horford, should he decide to return. But this patience could come at a cost. Every day that passes without Kuminga or Horford locked in makes it harder to build a cohesive plan. Can Golden State still compete? The Warriors are walking a fine line between retooling and rebuilding, and the failure to land a high IQ floor-spacing veteran like Olynyk puts even more pressure on Steph Curry, who turns 37 next season. Golden State's brass, including Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Steve Kerr, have consistently said they want to stay competitive while developing younger talent. But at some point, the lack of reliable depth in the frontcourt may force them to either overpay in a late trade or rush young players into roles they're not ready for. There's also the risk of falling behind in a Western Conference that's more aggressive than ever. The Clippers just added Brook Lopez. The Spurs are quietly building one of the most intriguing young cores in the league. And teams like Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and Denver are staying strong atop the conference. Remaining options, few and fading. So, who's left on the board? If Al Horford retires, the Warriors may need to look at lower-profile big men like Bismack Biyombo, JaVale McGee, or Derek Favors, none of whom offer the shooting and offensive flexibility that Olynyk or Horford would bring. There's also the faint possibility of a trade for someone like Isaiah Hartenstein, but that would likely require giving up future draft capital or rotation players. Golden State could also experiment with small ball lineups, using Draymond at center more often, but that approach may not hold up over 82 games, or in the playoffs. What's next? At this point, all eyes are on Horford's decision and the Kuminga situation. If both break in Golden State's favor, the offseason might still be salvaged. But if Horford walks away from basketball and Kuminga signs an offer sheet elsewhere, the Warriors could be staring at a very real identity crisis heading into training camp. One thing is clear, the margin for error is gone, and the Warriors can no longer afford to wait and hope. The clock is ticking, and so far, it's been ticking against them. Warriors signal Al Horford pursuit with heartbreaking Kevin Looney decision. A brutal but telling move by Golden State. It appears the Golden State Warriors had their sights set on Al Horford well before free agency officially began. And in doing so, they made a tough call, one that spoke volumes about the direction they're heading. In a move that left many fans stunned, the Warriors chose not to offer a contract to longtime center Kevin Looney, paving the way for his departure to the New Orleans Pelicans. It was a cold, calculated decision, especially considering everything Looney has meant to the franchise over the years. The end of an era, no offer for Looney. While Looney's role had diminished over the past 2 seasons, there was still a widespread belief that his leadership, selflessness, and presence in the locker room might be enough for the Warriors to bring him back, if not as a starter, at least as a steady veteran off the bench. But according to Looney himself, that opportunity never came. Writing a heartfelt goodbye in the Players' Tribune, the 29-year-old shared just how one-sided his free agency truly was. This time, the Warriors didn't make a real competitive offer. There was no back and forth. No decision to weigh. That option just never existed. For a player who helped bring 3 championships to the Bay, the lack of an offer was more than just business, it was personal. The harsh reality of roster construction. The decision not to bring back Looney is tough, but it reflects the harsh realities of today's NBA, and specifically, the Warriors' urgent need to retool their frontcourt. With Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, 2 players not known for stretching the floor, likely to share the court, Golden State knows it can't afford another non-shooter clogging up the paint. As much as Looney offers in rebounding, screens, and effort plays, the need for a floor-spacing center has become too pressing to ignore. That's where Al Horford comes in. At 39, Horford isn't just a veteran. He's a battle-tested big who can shoot from deep, defend multiple positions, and bring invaluable playoff experience. Though his age may raise eyebrows, his skill set still fits perfectly in Steve Kerr's system. Was there room for both? In another world, the Warriors might have drafted Quinton Post, let Horford play a mentorship role, and brought Looney back to anchor the second unit. But for a franchise aiming to remain relevant in a hyper-competitive Western Conference, relying too heavily on a second-year center was deemed too risky. Instead, it looks like Golden State is banking on Horford to bridge that gap, and in the process, Looney became the odd man out. A bittersweet outcome for all sides. If the Horford signing does materialize, this move could work out well for everyone involved. Horford gets one more meaningful shot at contending for a title. Post lands in a system where he can learn from a seasoned vet and develop at his own pace. And Looney, perhaps most importantly, secured a 2-year, $16 million deal from the Pelicans, something Golden State simply wasn't in a position to offer. Still, the emotional weight of losing a player like Looney, who embodied the Warriors' culture of sacrifice, toughness, and quiet leadership, will be felt deeply by the fanbase. Golden State made a business decision. But for those who watched Looney give his all night in and night out, it's more than that. It's the end of an era, and a reminder that in the NBA, loyalty is often a one-way street. Warriors' pursuit of Al Horford becomes clearer after Looney's departure. The writing has been on the wall for some time now, but the Golden State Warriors' intentions became undeniable after parting ways with longtime center Kevin Looney. With his move to the New Orleans Pelicans finalized, all signs now point to Golden State pushing hard for veteran big man Al Horford. Looney's exit wasn't just a roster decision, it was a signal. The front office is clearly prioritizing a floor-spacing center, someone who can operate outside the paint and bring a different offensive dynamic to pair with Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, two non-shooters in the frontcourt. Horford fits that mold, offering shooting, veteran poise, and the kind of high IQ defense that Golden State has long valued. A shift in identity. With Looney gone and Horford in their sights, the Warriors are shifting toward a more modern perimeter-oriented game. It's a clear response to the evolving demands of playoff basketball. Over the past few seasons, Golden State often struggled to find space offensively when playing multiple non-shooters together. This pivot signals a desire to adapt, to lean into more offensive versatility, even if it comes at the emotional cost of letting go of a foundational player. Horford's potential arrival also adds immediate leadership and playoff experience. Though he's nearing 40, his impact on both ends of the floor remains real, especially in limited minutes that preserve his body for deep postseason runs. What this means for the roster. Should Horford sign, it would have a cascading impact across the Warriors' depth chart. Quinton Post, the rookie big man, would have an ideal veteran mentor to guide his development. Draymond Green could share frontcourt duties with a spacing big, relieving some of the offensive burden. The second unit could become more dynamic, with Horford anchoring lineups built around shooting and ball movement. The emotional cost. Despite the strategic upside, Kevin Looney's departure stings. He was a homegrown success story, a player who sacrificed personal stats for team success, embraced every role asked of him, and became a fan favorite through quiet consistency and toughness. His goodbye letter revealed just how sudden the decision was. There was no negotiation, no offer, no return path. For a three-time champion, that's a hard pill to swallow. Still, this is the business side of basketball. And in today's NBA, loyalty rarely outweighs need. Looking ahead. Now, the Warriors find themselves at a crossroads. If Horford signs, the team gains a proven piece to complement their core and give them a better shot at playoff contention. If not, the options get thin quickly, with other bigs like Brook Lopez already off the board and few remaining who check all the boxes Golden State is looking for. The next move will shape not just the roster, but the tone of the Warriors' next chapter. One without Looney, but perhaps with new purpose. Long-rumored Warriors trade target could suddenly be back on the market. This could change everything. As the Golden State Warriors offseason continues to drag without major movement, one thing remains painfully clear: they still haven't filled the hole at center, a glaring need that must be addressed before the summer is over. While much of the recent focus has centered around veteran big man Al Horford, a far more impactful and long-discussed trade target could be making a surprise return to the conversation. According to recent developments, Lauri Markkanen may suddenly be available, and that could completely reshape the Warriors' plans. Lauri Markkanen's potential availability could shake up Golden State's offseason. The Utah Jazz have been quietly signaling a full rebuild. After a dismal 17-65 season that landed them at the bottom of the Western Conference, the team selected highly touted, but polarizing, forward Ace Bailey with a No. 5 overall pick in the draft. And in the weeks since, Utah has doubled down on youth and flexibility, pulling off a series of cap-clearing trades. They dealt Colin Sexton to the Hornets for Jusuf Nurkic and a future second-round pick, and shortly after, sent John Collins to the Clippers in a 3-team deal that brought back veterans Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson, both likely placeholders rather than long-term pieces. These moves all point in one direction: the Jazz are stripping things down and preparing for a full reset. Which brings us to Lauri Markkanen. The 7-foot finish forward is coming off another strong season, averaging 19 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. He recently signed a massive 5-year, $240 million extension, but despite that, league insiders suggest he may be gettable if the price is right. Why this matters for the Warriors. Golden State has had eyes on Markkanen before. They were reportedly interested last summer before his extension with Utah made him ineligible to be traded. But now, everything is back on the table. Even with the addition of Jimmy Butler, the Warriors still lack a versatile floor-spacing big man who can take pressure off Steph Curry and create mismatches across the floor. Markkanen fits that mold perfectly. His offensive versatility and ability to stretch defenses could be the missing piece in a roster still aiming to compete at the highest level. Yes, acquiring him would be expensive, likely requiring a package of young talent, draft capital, and some salary matching, but the Warriors have shown before that they're willing to pay a premium to stay in contention during the twilight of the Curry era. A risk worth taking? Bringing in Markkanen would signal a bold pivot, a shift from patchwork fixes to a true long-term solution in the frontcourt. And while his price tag is steep, the potential reward is massive. He's a proven scorer, a capable rebounder, and a near-perfect fit in Steve Kerr's offensive system. For a team trying to make the most of whatever time they have left with their championship core, this may be exactly the kind of aggressive move that keeps the window open just a little longer. If the Jazz are truly ready to part ways with Markkanen, don't be surprised if Golden State picks up the phone, again. Long-standing Warriors trade target could suddenly become available. This offseason just got more interesting for Golden State. As the Golden State Warriors continue navigating a quiet and uncertain free agency period, one of their biggest remaining needs, adding a reliable frontcourt presence, has yet to be addressed. While veteran Al Horford has been discussed as a likely addition, a much more impactful name may unexpectedly be back in play: Lauri Markkanen. Recent roster moves by the Utah Jazz suggest the team is leaning into a full rebuild, and that could mean Markkanen, long considered untouchable, is now available. If so, this opens a new door for Golden State, one that might lead to a major roster upgrade. Markkanen's availability could shift the Warriors' plans. Utah's recent transactions have made their direction clear. After finishing last in the Western Conference with a 17-65 record, the Jazz selected forward Ace Bailey with a No. 5 pick in the draft. Since then, they've traded away Colin Sexton and John Collins in separate deals, bringing in veterans like Jusuf Nurkic and Kevin Love mostly to shed salary and collect draft assets. This strategy suggests that more changes are on the horizon, and Markkanen, despite his all-star caliber, could be next. Markkanen is coming off another strong season, averaging 19 points, nearly 6 rebounds, and showing high efficiency across the board. He signed a 5-year, $240 million extension with Utah, which last season made him ineligible for trade. But now, with Utah's shift in priorities, that restriction no longer applies, and the Warriors could re-enter the conversation. Why Golden State might reignite its interest? The Warriors have had their eyes on Markkanen before. Last off-season, they were among the teams most aggressive in pursuing him before he signed his extension. His skill set, shooting, size, mobility, fits perfectly in Steve Kerr's offensive system. In many ways, he would bring a dynamic frontcourt presence the team hasn't had since their championship peak. Golden State's roster now includes Jimmy Butler, and they've moved on from Kevin Looney. Their biggest remaining question is how to upgrade the frontcourt without compromising shooting and spacing, something Markkanen could solve immediately. With Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler both operating primarily inside the arc, the Warriors need a big who can stretch the floor. Markkanen does that at a high level. Challenges and considerations. Of course, acquiring a player of Markkanen's caliber won't be easy. Utah will demand significant assets, likely including young talent like Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Podziemski and multiple draft picks. That's a heavy price, especially for a team that has already sacrificed some depth and future flexibility. There's also the question of fit. While Markkanen is versatile, integrating him into a system built around Stephen Curry's unique gravity takes time. The Warriors would have to be certain that his presence wouldn't disrupt their offensive rhythm or slow down their pace. Still, given how few players with his combination of size, skill, and age are available, this might be the kind of bold move Golden State needs if it hopes to compete for another championship in the remaining years of the Curry era. A defining moment for the franchise. If the Warriors choose to pursue Markkanen seriously, it would signal more than just an aggressive trade. It would reflect a full commitment to chasing another title now, rather than waiting for internal growth to catch up. Whether it's Markkanen, Horford, or another option entirely, the front office's next decision could define the trajectory of the franchise for years to come. Social media clues hint at DeAnthony Melton's possible return to the Warriors. It might just be a click, but in today's NBA, one Instagram follow can spark a wave of speculation. That's exactly what happened when fans noticed that DeAnthony Melton, the veteran guard, recently refollowed the Golden State Warriors on Instagram. Coincidence? Maybe. But in a quiet off-season for the Dubs, this little digital breadcrumb has stirred up real buzz about a possible reunion. To be fair, there's more than just social media tea leaves backing this up. NBA insiders Jake Fisher and Mark Stein have both reported that the Warriors are a strong candidate to sign Melton, who despite suffering a torn ACL after just 6 games with Golden State last season, left a positive impression during his short stint. But let's go back to the Instagram drama for a moment. According to user at BabyfaceDubs, also known as Curry Flurry, Melton had unfollowed the Warriors after being traded to the Brooklyn Nets last December in the deal that brought Dennis Schroeder to the Bay. Now, he's following the team again, and they're the only NBA franchise he currently follows. Our own quick scroll through Melton's Instagram confirms it. Among the accounts he follows, the NBA Players Association, Snoop Dogg, NerdWallet, the Minnesota Vikings, and even the 76ers mascot, Franklin the Dog. But as of now, only one NBA team has made it back onto his follow list, the Golden State Warriors. Why it makes sense. Melton's return to San Francisco would be more than just a sentimental move. Even in his limited time with the team last season, he proved to be a natural fit, capable of initiating offense, locking up guards at the point of attack, and knocking down catch-and-shoot threes. After his injury, the Warriors struggled to fill that gap. They tried Dennis Schroeder, but the fit was short-lived. Eventually, Schroeder was packaged with Andrew Wiggins and others in the deal that landed Jimmy Butler. The Melton void was never really filled. With his rehab progressing and his price tag now likely lower than the $12.8 million mid-level deal he signed last summer, Melton could present a tremendous value for a team looking to bolster its guard rotation without overspending. What about the Lakers? Just days ago, Clutch Points reported a growing expectation that Melton would land with the Lakers. That made sense at the time. He's from Southern California, played high school ball at Crespi, and starred at USC. Plus, the Lakers have been looking for tough, defensively minded guards to pair with Luka Doncic. But that interest appears to have cooled. Los Angeles has now turned its attention toward Bradley Beal, a former All-Star who could shake up the entire free agent landscape if he's officially bought out by the Suns. Beal's availability may be holding up decisions for several veteran guards still on the market, players like Malcolm Brogdon, Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, and of course DeAnthony Melton. All of them may be eyeing short-term deals to prove their value before a more favorable 2026 free agency market, where more teams are expected to have cap space. For Melton, it's about fit, not flash. Sure, Melton might have hoped to prove himself last season with the Warriors under that $12.8 million one-year deal. But with fewer teams holding significant cap space this summer, his next move may come down to where he feels most comfortable, and where he can have the biggest impact, not just the biggest paycheck. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the Instagram follow matters. The Warriors have been active on social lately, sharing clips from the California Classic, honoring Kevin Looney, and even posting videos of country rapper Jelly Roll debating which former Warrior would make the best drummer. Melton doesn't follow Jelly Roll yet for the record, but hey, there's still time. It's a long off-season, and nothing's official yet. But if you're reading between the lines, or scrolling between the follows, DeAnthony Melton reuniting with Golden State is starting to look more like a real possibility than just social media smoke. Warriors weighing familiar faces over flashy names. While the Warriors have been mentioned in connection with some bigger names this offseason, sources close to the organization suggest the team may be more focused on familiarity, chemistry, and fit than chasing star power. That approach could make someone like Melton, a low-profile but high-impact guard, even more valuable in their current team-building strategy. Golden State is clearly entering a new phase. With Klay Thompson gone, Draymond Green aging, and Steph Curry still playing at an elite level, the franchise is looking to retool around its core rather than rebuild from scratch. The front office has placed a premium on versatile defenders and high IQ role players, exactly the kind of attributes Melton brings to the table. According to Anthony Slater of The Athletic, the Warriors are actively exploring multiple guard options who can fill the Klay-sized hole on the wing, not just from a shooting standpoint, but from a defensive leadership perspective. Melton, who has built a reputation as one of the best perimeter defenders in the league when healthy, fits that mold as well as anyone still on the market. Teammates and coaches speak up. Privately, several Warriors players reportedly loved having Melton around last season. Despite the brief stint, his professionalism, defensive energy, and quiet leadership stood out during practices and in the locker room. One assistant coach was quoted as saying Melton was one of the smartest defenders we've had here in a long time. That kind of locker room endorsement matters, especially for a Warriors team that values continuity and character as much as talent. There's also a growing belief among league insiders that Melton may be willing to accept a short-term prove-it deal, perhaps even the veteran minimum, if it meant returning to a system he knows, and one where he believes he can shine. Given his injury status and the uncertainty still surrounding his full return timeline, that kind of mutually beneficial deal could be a win-win for both sides. Fan base reacts to the speculation. Meanwhile, Warriors fans are already connecting the dots. The Instagram follow, of course, has gone viral among the team's online community. The post by @BabyfaceDubs now has thousands of reposts and has sparked spirited debates on Reddit, X, and Warriors fan forums. Some fans are calling for the front office to move quickly before another team jumps in. He wants to come back. He's healthy. He defends. This is a no-brainer, one fan wrote on the r/Warriors subreddit. Others are a bit more cautious, questioning whether Melton's knee will be ready by the start of the season and if the team can afford to take another health-related gamble. But even among skeptics, there's a general agreement. If Melton is close to 100%, he's exactly the kind of player this team needs. What's next? For now, all eyes remain on a few major pieces that need to fall: the Bradley Beal situation, the fates of other veteran guards like Brogdon and Westbrook, and the broader market movement once the second wave of free agency kicks in. But behind the scenes, don't be surprised if the Warriors and Melton are already having quiet conversations. He may not be the splashiest name on the board, but in Golden State, fit often beats flash. And if the vibes on Instagram are any indication, Melton might just be preparing for a Bay Area comeback story that fans didn't know they needed.